Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw a few events happening, such as the Korean Empire over here expanded. Um, we saw the uh first or the biggest war since World War II, being the Diamond Alliance versus the Circle Alliance. And taking a look at the alliance layer, it is very clear who won the war. Um, and that was pretty much it. I don't think anything else happened. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. Alright, so we're gonna come down to these three tribes right here. Um, all of them, well, like I just said, they're tribes. But if the per this pinkish, reddish, orangish one, I don't know what color it is. I'm colorblind, so um this one here is the strongest because they did have some like development from Denmark and Switzerland when they were colonial. Both countries fell before the official colonies were really released. But yeah, so they're the strongest. And then it would be the yellow team and then the purple one. But these tribes start getting into arguments over who really owns some. Uh, really, they're arguing about a big circle about right in here, and it leads to eventually the purple tribes begin invading into the yellow team. Um, these guys may be the weakest, but they have an extremely smart leader, and they also did get a little bit of land out of the Danish collapse. So, they do have a bit of technology from it, whereas the L team doesn't. And seeing that this country over here is getting invaded and fearing they're going to be invaded later too, the purple or this pink one will begin sending their uh their people down here, their warriors. And these guys don't have capitals, remember. So there isn't a very easy way to fully take them out. But seeing as the pink or the pink team is invading them, the purple team will send up forces up here to kind of cut off purple team. However, something about these tribes is when one area is captured, it doesn't matter, and they'll start popping right back up. And we see that especially happening around major cities, as other than major cities, people don't really live elsewhere, especially since this is in the Amazon rainforest. But it's definitely seeming like this purple team is um or it's really seeming like these guys are stronger than they should than they are actually. And that's they're not really getting outside help. The only help that they're actually getting is just because they have a really smart leader. Eventually, this one tribe will be able to take over all of the other tribes, and they decide to do a kind of uniting, and they just pretty much form Inner Brazil, or the official name of it is the Inner Brazilian Tribe. Um, Pretty much they claim that this is all one tribal nation. However, um, it's real. They're really just the three that are all governing over the same areas. But then the king or chieftain or whatever is down here. I will be keeping them as three separate ideologies, as they have the main chief down here, and then they have two other chiefs that they're the same chief that ruled over. these areas. But we're going to move on from over there and head down to South Africa. Recently, tensions have really been brewing over here, um, especially with the Orange team, as they claim that these pixels of water are part of the Orange team and the ones that go out through here. So just to show, I'm just gonna do this. The Orange team claims that this area is under, or that area of water is under their control, whereas the Blue team kind of says no, it's all that's under ours. And tensions are really starting to escalate, especially between these two. Um, and eventually it will lead to shots are from one boat are fired at another boat, and it's not really set who fired shots first. The orange team says the blue team does, and the blue team says the orange team does, and eventually, uh, we actually see Madagascar goes in to do the research and is taking like stories from sailors on both ships, and eventually it's found out that well, neither actually fired. Neither of the two countries were the ones that actually had fired at the other. Secretly, another nation that has also had some recent tensions with these two all had sent out ships over here. They were hoping initially to sink those ships so that there wasn't anything to speak about, but clearly those ships made it back. And those ships were up from Tanzania. So now tensions between these three are escalating, and just from everything going through this gold team, they're like, y'all, settle down. We're not going to be in the middle of this. It's kind of the same with the green team, except the green team also, like, they want they wanted all of this up here, but Gold Mozambique was really the ones that petitioned for this to be its own country, because, like, they had good relations with people up here, but not as much as out here. These guys were more like full on colonial than some of the people out here. But like, everything's just going bad between these five, even six countries. And all of a sudden, this uh this green team here is like, yeah, why are we fighting each other? Madagascar is the one that sent all this out, and like it just starts brewing even further and further. And eventually, what happens is Madagascar will their president, wait, yeah, their president will eventually state that he resigns from his position and will have his son come into power. His son is also a dem- his son is also part of the democracy thing. Um, but pretty much like these countries are like, you guys, so you're putting your son in power, and even though you're a democracy and there was no voting on it, and everything just gets worse and worse and worse from here on out. And eventually, Madagascar is going to start ask West France, since these were their islands originally. They don't ask for them back, but what they do ask is, especially on these two islands here, if they can set up a couple ports, and this really ticks off these guys in Gold Mozambique. And Mozambique goes up to Ethiopia and says, "Hey, send your ships down here because these guys are doing stuff in our ports by our seas, and everything's getting worse and worse and worse." But no war will break out. However, we do see a war break out up here with Ethiopia. The Ethiopian um yeah, the Ethiopian king is like, all right, so we're kind of getting tired of just us ruling the country. Uh, and something something happens. Something happened with his son. It wasn't anyone killing him. He had like a heart attack or something. It was his only son, and he's really old. The queen's really old. So they're like, all right, we're gonna start switching some things up. And eventually, they decide to go into a democracy. And I chose the wrong color for that. So eventually, they become um a or flawed democracy, just because there are a lot of people who are still like, oh, bring back the king. But the first official that is elected will he's a really expansionist guy, and he does want like he wants good relations, especially with the RPGAU countries. He was from the Orange team before he moved, or his family was. He wasn't, he was born in Ethiopia. But he still definitely wants land. So he will invade into the Red Country and quickly take over the whole nation. And this is just going to bring out more controversy down here. And with the Indian Ocean Economic Alliance, um, they're trying, countries outside in the Economic Alliance are like, y'all, you gotta chill out. Um, they don't chill out though. And yes, as you just saw, the red team was fully annexed by Ethiopia, and but we're gonna move on from the South African chaos, and we move up into Europe. As as you saw in the last episode, unless you didn't watch it for whatever reason, um, the Swiss have been politically influencing many nations around in Europe, even some outside of Europe, mainly just the Caribbean nation and a couple down here. But they're still going for this. We're influencing all these big countries and stuff, and we're like better and everything. Um, and that well, it continues to remain true as two more nations leave the Cross Alliance. And well, as you just saw, Iberia leaves the Cross Alliance, and the other country to leave is going to be none other than West France. So they will both be joining the Diamond Alliance here, and we the Great Empire really hates Switzerland for this. And they're like, "Yo, Catalonia, you gotta stop this. Like you're losing your friends." I used to call it, but jeez, no, not happening. All right, so they're like, "You gotta stop this from happening." And Catalonia is like, they're trying to, but they really can't do anything. But now seeing that so many members of the Cross Alliance are leaving, uh, we see the Great Empire is going to add a few nations to the Cross Alliance that are definitely not, or maybe not, definitely not against, or definitely against the Swiss. One of them definitely is. Mhm. But there's a few other nations that, I mean, maybe had some issues with the Swiss at one point. Obviously, I'm talking about Italy, and we also see the Mediterranean nation, Libya, and the final nation to join it will actually be an ex nation, or actually, these guys were the ones with issues. Well, both of these guys had issues actually, so both of them joined. If you don't remember, way back in episode 19, we saw the claims of countries, and Switzerland claimed over this area. Also, Switzerland had a colony right here. Libya, Libya just kind of joined because they wanted protection. They kind of they kind of feared like if we don't join, then they might invade us. So it was just kind of like that. But now we move to the final event of the episode, and that is going to be China invading another nation. Most of the time it's been Korea invading. Now it's just China. But they will invade into this light blue nation and take it over very quickly. And just like in every other war so far this video, they will be completely annexing the country. Alright. But that will do it for today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.